right, so today is part two of the paid real estate ads math, the blueprint to free buyers and leads. You're not buying leads, you're buying customers. So today we'll be covering why cheap leads are an expensive trap, the buyer segment math that changes everything, and then the commission determines what you invest, not your cost per lead.
Build your dream today. We show you the way. Luxury leads come to play. New homes here to stay. Marketing's our game. Elevate your name. Reach for the fame. Never just the same. We're the iconic agent. New construction's our lane. Teaching you the secrets for luxury gains. Digital wave we ride. Strategies we provide. No need to hide. Success is on your side. Close deals like a pro. Watch your profits grow. High standards we show. Feel that golden glow. We're the iconic agent. New construction's our lane. Teaching you the secrets for luxury gains. Digital wave we ride. Strategies we provide. No need to hide. Success is on your side. Close deals like a pro. Watch your profits grow. High standards we show. Feel that golden glow. We're the iconic agent. New construction's our lane. Teaching you the secrets for luxury gains.
All right, welcome everybody. This week again, Nate is out and about. He might pop on. If not, we're going to keep the train rolling. So here's how these calls work. These are the what. This is a one-way conversation, your weekly, midweek tune-up, new construction conversation. We talk about what to do, what's working. The how, the interactive two-way conversation, that is the New Home Marketing Insiders community. So it's what to do, how to do it with support, QA, community, and monthly virtual training and resources. So to recap last week, because this is part two of a four-part paid ad series. Last week, we discussed the numbers most agents miss and don't even know when they're running paid ads. This is part two. And this is knowing your numbers so you understand what the actual customer is worth. Big difference between cost per customer and cost per lead. The issue is not expensive leads or cheap leads. It's judging the cost without knowing the customer value. So a lot of agents obsess over cheap leads, and that's the wrong outlook. I've had knockdown, drag out arguments with agents. They're like, oh, those leads are too expensive. You're looking at it the wrong way. The goal is a profitable customer, not a cheap lead. Two different things. A cheap lead that never answers, never qualifies, never closes, and keeps you busy is actually expensive. That's something that a lot of agents don't think about. So a more expensive lead that becomes a buyer where you get a commission for $10, $15, or $20,000, that turns out to be actually a free lead and a free customer. It's all about how you look at it, and a lot of agents have been looking at it the wrong way. So if you're new here, I'm Damon Gray, the founder of The Iconic Agent, and Nathaniel Crawford's not here right now, but he'll be back next week. We've been helping agents attract new construction buyers and sell more new construction since 2017. Since we've been tracking in 2020, we've helped agents sell really over about $500 million in uh, additional new construction and luxury new construction sales. We don't gatekeep. We're giving you exactly what we would give you in a room if we were having a conversation consulting. So you can catch all of these archives and resources for all future, current, and past midweek tune-ups if you go over to theiconicagent.com/tuneup. Every episode you get resources, which is an infographic and a mind map explaining everything we did. So you don't have to furiously take notes. We got you. Just join the tune-up. If you have questions, you want to join the free monthly AMA coaching call, which will be next month, spelled properly, 6 p.m. Eastern. The last one we had was actually yesterday. It's the last Tuesday of every month. We had a really good call, went about an hour and a half, and that is we sit down and you ask questions away and we share. Super valuable. We talked about a whole lot of stuff. We'll probably do a recap on one of the future, either a separate video or one of the future tune-ups. We'll kind of do a recap on the points. But if you're in the Insider, the New Home Marketing Insider, you're going to get that replay. Replays will go out to everybody until Friday. Then it gets closed out. That's when the gatekeeping happens. You have to be an Insider customer in order to get all the past and future and anything else we talk about and specific actionable blueprints from the topics we discussed. So if you head on over to theiconicagent.com/insider, you'll get assistance, you'll get guidance, you'll get the blueprints, case studies, training, resources, tools, everything over there, all for an affordable price. So today's topic, you're not buying leads, you're buying customers. And this is the blueprint to get free leads and free customers. So this is the old belief. It's probably what you came in here with. We want you to get rid of. This is what most agents think. I need cheap leads and I need a bunch of leads. I need a bunch of leads and I need cheap leads. They think they can just get their lead costs down, the campaign will work. Cheaper leads don't automatically mean business or even better business or quality. It just means cheap leads. Cheap leads can waste up time, clog up your CRM, drain your energy, and make you think paid ads don't work. I had a conversation yesterday with a gentleman that was telling me, he was running some ads, and he said, you know, I'm running these ads and I'm talking to these people for first-time home buyers, and I'm going to go into that. And I'm talking to these leads, and they have bad credit, or they're trying to fix their credit, or they're going to rent some more, and they're really not the quality that I'm looking for. And that is because they're cheap leads. That's not what we want. But the consideration and the new belief, I need to know what a customer is worth to me so I can invest the right amount to acquire the right buyer. That is what you want to be considering. So here's the shift. Once an agent understands customer value, they stop judging campaigns on cost per lead and they ask themselves better questions. What's the commission potential? What's the quality of the buyer? What's the price point I want to work in? What's the timeline to close? What's the value of follow-up? That's a whole nother segment. And what can I afford to invest in a new customer, not a lead, a new customer, and still win? These are the questions that we're going to explore. All right, so let's get into it. Now, let's cover the cheap leads versus expensive leads. So the first thing you want to understand is that a bunch of leads and cheap leads is not a flex, especially if the quality is bad. I'll say this again. A cheap lead and a bunch of leads isn't a flex. We have people out there getting hyped up on, oh, I got a bunch of leads, and I got this lead, and I got that lead, and I got cheap leads, I got $2 leads, $3 leads. Great. It's not a flex unless those cheap leads are quality and they're turning into business. So when you're looking at paid marketing, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google, whether it's TikTok, if you have no control over targeting, you can't control the quality. You can get a bunch of cheap leads if you're not controlling the targeting. This is something that came up yesterday, that comes up on every single the AMAs we do every month. Every free coaching call, this comes up. Someone will hop on, they'll say, hey, I'm just here absorbing this, I'm new, or hey, I'm just doing this here. I've been doing this for a while, I'm just trying to absorb information. One, stop absorbing information and start taking the information you have and act on it. So if you're watching this, don't just absorb this, take this, find something actionable and go do it. First thing. The other is, there were a handful of folks that said, hey, yeah, I'm just in the business, I just got in, or I'm getting back in, whatever the case may be, and I work with everybody. I just want buyers. That is the wrong answer, especially in this market. If your niche is anyone willing to buy anything, and you're looking to use paid ads, you've already lost. That is not the approach. Broad targeting is also not the approach. So when you talk about broad targeting, a lot of Facebook ad agencies that target real estate agents, Zillow, Realtor.com, they're usually broad targeting. Even if they're doing a zip code, it's still broad targeting. Not the best quality. And $2 to $10 a lead is going to keep you busy. But if the lead never buys, or it takes 3 years of follow up, then those $2 to $10 leads become very, very expensive. Now, the flip side, and some of this is going to make your stomach turn when I say this. So, you ready? A $50 to $100 lead that turns into a $15,000 commission is cheap, or actually free, because there's ROI. That is the difference that you want to consider when you're doing paid ads. Or, and I have said this before, and I've probably said this on a Tuneup, but I'll keep it 100 with you. Real estate agents and mortgage brokers are the easiest people in the world to sell to, which is why there's been so many people burned by charlatans and snake oil salesmen, because all you have to do is promise them leads, and cheap leads, and they jump at you. The problem with that is cheap is not good. You get what you pay for. A $50 to $100 lead, which we've seen and we see actively, that turns into a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 commission, I will do that all day. If it's $150, doesn't matter. And we're going to talk about how this all comes to fruition towards the end. But stop looking at cheap leads and stop being cheap, and start looking at quality, and start looking at the customer. You're buying a customer. So when we talk about buyer segmenting, let me grab some water here. Buyer segmentation. You can have the exact same ad spend. Let's say it's $600 a month, and get different results. You can get way more leads for cheap, or you can get way less leads for more expensive. And it takes, the cheap leads are going to keep you busy. The expensive ones, you might have to go 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but then you got an ROI. Paid ads is a long-term game, and it's a consistent game. Now, the key with any of the paid marketing you're doing, whether you're doing Facebook, because it's possible on Facebook, or if you're doing Google, intent versus interest, the key is targeting with intent. And in order to target with intent, you have to know who your ideal customer is. And you have to be able to speak to them and reach them where they are. So let's just say you're targeting first-time home buyers. Nothing wrong with first-time home buyers, except when you don't have, first-time home buyers is not a niche. First-time home buyers within a certain price point, or first-time home buyers that want to buy new construction, or first-time home buyers that are move-up buyers and have family or renting and they finally want to buy. They've been saving money. Like, you have to know these people. It seems counterintuitive, but again, we're targeting with intent. So it's not just first-time home buyers. It might be first-time home buyers in my area that want to spend $450,000 or more. So when it comes to attraction, let's use, and this is an example I get a lot. Again, there's nothing wrong with her first-time home buyers. Everybody has their area niche. But this is the thing, this is what I hear a lot with first-time home buyers. So I'm targeting first-time home buyers, and I'm having undesired conversations. They need credit, help. They don't have credit. They want to buy a home under $150,000. They're looky loos. They can't qualify. Like all of these non-beneficial things, and it's wasted time. It's wasted ad spend. That is where ad spend is wasted because they're not specific enough and their messaging is not speaking to their ideal client. If you serve everybody and you just throw something out there, you're going to get whatever. So this is what you want to ask and what you want to consider. Now, when we're doing this, I know there's going to be some people who are like, well, that is a violation of fair housing. Nope. We help those folks when we can. We're not violating any fair housing, but remember, you're investing. You're paying for customers, so you need quality and ROI. You should never, ever, 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 some of y'all gonna know that reference, invest in marketing that does not have an ROI. Notice I said invest in marketing, not spend in marketing. Invest in ads, not spend in ads. Because if you spend, that's gone. Investing means there's a return on investment. Everything needs to be trackable. You need to know if it works or if it doesn't. If you are speaking to an ad vendor or someone and they can't tell you what the average ROI is or give you metrics, they probably don't know. They're just selling you something. Anybody worth their salt should be able to tell you some basic metrics. So if you go back to part one last week, those are the basic metrics that we qualify every campaign for. They should have something similar. So better questions to ask when you're running ads. What's the price point I want to target? Am I going to target new construction? Or how about I target financially capable people? So if I'm going to target, maybe I'm targeting second home buyers, vacation home buyers, they have disposable income, better clients. Or if I'm doing first time home buyers, maybe it's first responders or doctors or nurses or people that are looking for new construction in this price point or moving from this area to that area or out of town. Like you got to be specific. Are you targeting investors? Investors have money. They understand the numbers. So you put your messaging together to target them. You can target people that must move. They have to move for life events. It could be a job. It could be to be near family. It could be near getting married, getting divorced, whatever. Targeting life events. And then the main thing does the commission make sense? For all the work that we're doing, does the commission make sense? Am I going to see at least a break even? Obviously, you don't want to do that, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But let's look at the first time home buyer. So we're targeting first time home buyers. What kind of first time home buyer? Is it 450 above? Is it a luxury first home buyer? Because there's first time home buyers that spend 500,000 plus. They just never owned a home, they've always rented. That's still a first time home buyer. Is it first time home buyers that need credit help? Cool. Be specific. Understand what you're getting yourself into. You want this level of control with your marketing. So again, everything goes back to the foundation. Who is your ideal client? And then once you have that targeting, these leads and these buyers, you have different conversations. You can also target based on location. If you're targeting a location where the home prices are $700,000 to $1 million, that's the level of conversations you're going to have. And when you're buying customers and you're paying for ads, this is something that came up yesterday. We had a couple of people that were like, well, I'm not sure if I can do luxury because I've never done it. And these people don't know me. And I drive a Honda Accord and all that is irrelevant. And only you know that. If you're targeting a place that's 500,000 to $1 million, an area, a subdivision, a neighborhood, nobody knows you're a brand new agent. Nobody knows you drive the Honda Accord. I just know that I'm looking for a house in this community and I found you. So now we're having a conversation. You got to get out of your head, or you don't have to. If you stay in your head, you're going to stay where you are. So you want to get clear on who you serve, When you do that, your ads get clear, your conversations get easier, your offer gets stronger, and your sales conversions get easier as well. So let's look at some simple math, and I'm gonna give you a basic blueprint. When we go deeper into this in the insider, we'll have some calculators, more information, you can ask questions, etc. But for now, simple math. Same ad spend, right? Going after $250,000 buyers at 3%. So that's $7,500. Same ad spend, $500,000 commission at 3% is $15,000. Same effort to acquire a lead, 2 times the commission. And then if you're going after new construction, it's not just 2 times the commission, it's half the work and maybe even higher than 3% or bonuses. So this is the simple math, the simple commission math that'll determine how you can invest. This is really simple. Pick your price point. I'm going to go with $500,000 because it takes the same effort to sell a $500,000 home as it does a $4 million home. And we've got plenty of folks that can speak to that, and me being one of them. Sold 3.5 million, sold 300,000. It's the same process. It's different buyer, same process. So let's go with $500,000. So $500,000 and 3% is $15,000. So technically, if you were to take that same $15,000 and invest it in the market, you can literally, so let's back it up. $15,000 commission. If you invest in marketing to get a $15,000 commission, technically you could spend $15,000 in ad spend to acquire that customer, and you're acquiring for free. Obviously, you want to do that. But let's just say you spent $14,000 to get that $15,000 commission. Well, I only made $1,000. The fact of the matter is, and this is not what we do, but just so you can look at this perspective, that same $15,000 or $14,000, if you put that into the market with the average returns, you're looking at 8 to 12%. So that's only going to be $1,000 to $1,400. So technically, you can invest $14,000 to make that $1,000 and keep reinvesting that way. Obviously, that's the average return. That's not what we're looking at. This is not the goal, but this will change your thinking. So what you want to do is take that $15,000 that you would make from a sale and divide it by 3 or divide it by 4. And that's your baseline of what you can expect to invest in order to make that. So if you spend $15,000, if you're getting a $15,000 commission and you're dividing that by 3, that's $5,000. If you're dividing it by 4, that's about $3,750. So from a baseline, to make that commission, divided by whatever your commission would be, divided by 3 or 4. So if I'm looking to target a $500,000 home community running ads, that's my average price point. Then I can spend between $3,750 and about $5,000 before I freak out. Simple math, but if you're tracking and you do it right, that is a cakewalk all day. And that's actually probably way lower. That ROI is not bad, but that's way less than what you can actually do, because you also have to consider all the leads that came through and the follow-up of those. So, and I can say this with absolute certainty because we've trained thousands of agents over the last 10 years on this. We've seen our lowest ROI was us. Unfortunately, nobody's beat that yet, which is 300%. We've seen 900% and 3,500% or more. Now, I won't tell you the higher ones because it almost seems unbelievable. But if you go back through this and understand what I just said and what we just showed you, you can determine the ROI. The higher the price point that you go after, you're investing the same dollar spend, the higher your ROI is going to be. You're buying customers, you want an ROI. This is the one thing I want you to remember. You're buying customers, you want an ROI, you want free leads and free customers. The only way you get free leads and free customers is to run ads that produce an ROI, and you got to run them consistently. Once you know those numbers and your ROI is whatever percent, now you just keep reinvesting that back in there. Now, not every campaign does that well, but this is the framework we use for all campaigns. So if we're going after, again, going after 500,000, I'm like 5 grand, we should have a sale within 5 grand. Between 3,000 and 5 grand, we should have a sale. Boom, we made an ROI, roll it back in. Now that ROI typically goes up with follow-up. So you can join the insider for the ad spend math details and what's working today. So let me head on over here to our deck here. So resources from this conversation will be available on Friday over at the Tuneup. So if you have questions and answers around this content, join the new Home Marketing Insiders. If you want the exact strategy training resources, it's exclusive to the new Home Marketing Insiders, but you can get the replays over at the Tuneup. So if you want additional help, you have questions around this, you want to know exactly, well, how do I write the ads and what do I do? Head on over to theiconicagent.com/insider or scan this QR code. Once you get in, you'll have instant access to everything, plus the previous tune-ups, previous information, and all of the AMAs, which is our AMAs are Ask Me Anything. That is where we walk through in depth. Again, we have zero gatekeeping. We give you everything. It's up to you to actually implement it. So we'll see you guys again next week, same time, 1:30 on Wednesday for part 3 of Paid Ads Math. Have an awesome day.
Digital wave we ride, strategies we provide. No need to hide, success is on your side. Close deals like a pro, watch your profits grow. High standards we show.